Hey, welcome into SportsBit. Betting Insight today, Pauly and Teddy. Friday, April 6th, big game breakdown. Draft props are here, over 30 of them at William Hill. We'll run down the NFL draft props, which is less than 3 weeks away. We'll give out 3 play of the day. Well, it's a big steam with some of these moves as well. We'll give out 3 play of the days coming up. We'll turn on the shot clock as well. And the Bulls and Celtics, life without Kyrie, all that part of big game breakdown. Bad beats, bad bets, bad for the books. Same game. A bad beat and a bad for the books. The Wizards were up. Wizards money line up 17 with 7 minutes. How about up 16 with 6 minutes? They lose. Cavs almost cover. 119-115. Biggest comeback of LeBron's career when there was 6 minutes or less left in the game. Wizards couldn't buy a basket. Couldn't get any stops. Big win for the Cavs. They try to get the 3 seed.
Sure, and that's a bad beat, most assuredly, if you had the Wizards on the money line in that ball game. When you're up 17 with 7 left, you're playing a team with no point guard. Hill and Calderon both out. That's tough. That being said, the over money there, 218 and a half up to 222. That's tough too. If you had under, talk about a game, and of course we had over here on SportsBit. No complaints, but Cleveland went nuts in the back half of the fourth quarter. Where they scored 32 points in the last 7.5 minutes of the fourth. Sent that game flying over. And, of course, let's not forget the tweet from Vegas Point Blank. The LeBron factor. With that rally to beat Washington, the Cavs are now 19-5 in games decided by 6 or less. That's 10 straight wins dating back to January 12th. Cleveland's winning all the close games. And, of course, we talk about tonight's game. We'll preview that a little bit later in the show. But once again, it's in that point spread range where someone's supposed to win the game by 6 or less.
Bullpen shenanigans every single night in Major League Baseball. Bad beat, Rays plus 220, up 2-0 in the bottom of the ninth. Colomé blows it. Red Sox tie it. Ramirez with the walk-off in extra innings, 3-2 Boston.
Yeah, and Colomé, he's working for the first time in a week, and he can't get 3 outs. It's like one thing if your closer's tired, another thing if your closer's not effective. That was certainly the case for Rays backers in Tampa. But the big plus price, unfortunately, did not come through if you had him in your pocket.
All right, they're betting cold weather here blindly. It doesn't matter who the pitchers are. This is ridiculous. Tigers, White Sox under 9.5 down to 8.5. That's Zimmerman against Shields. Shields was terrible last year, and Zimmerman an ERA of over 6. White Sox also flew over 9-7, and also a tough beat though. If you had the White Sox $1.20, they're up 7-4 in the ninth. They blew it, and then the Tigers get 2 in the 10th to win it.
Yeah, the bottom line, it takes more than cold weather to get a Zimmerman and Shields matchup to play under the total. That duo combined, 17 hits allowed versus 4 strikeouts. And let's get a drum roll, please. Brrr. James McCann, the 50th batter Shields faced this season, the first one to strike out. James Shields does not have much of a strikeout pitch these days. And I'll tell you what, the under steam yesterday, you're only going to see that in a James Shields game when the weather is ridiculously cold. Ridiculously cold weather didn't kill that under. Steam flew over the total. Bettors got that one wrong.
Yes. Here's a couple more bad bets. Nationals, Mets under 7.5 down to 7 under -125. That was DeGrom against Strasburg. Although it was a high-scoring game, at least the Mets, Conforto comes back and it's a home run. And the A's took money again. Anti-Texas money. A's $1.30 up to 160. They lost 6-3.
Yeah, Mets Nets under 7.5 down to 7. DeGrom versus Strasburg. What could possibly go wrong? Easy. Bullpen. Brandon Kinzer could go wrong. You have a grand slam to Jay Bruce in the 7th. Which you see right here, that game flew. Well, didn't fly over the total, but it got over the total. Certainly not a good result if you had the under in that ball game, and many bettors did, Pauly.
And this one was strange. Bad bet and bad for the books. Houston 9.5 up to 11, and the under 217 down to 212. No Lillard, and Houston's up 20 at the half, and then they relax, even up 10 with not much time left in the fourth quarter. Portland makes a run. CP3 has to hit a jumper to win it with 1 second left. 96-94 final in that one. Portland's going to have a big say in what happens down the stretch because they play Denver and San Antonio coming up. So we'll see if Lillard plays, although they haven't locked up the 3 seed as well. Bet for the books, Rockies, Padres under 8.5 down to 7.5. That was a 3-1 final. Padres are 1-6 on the season. And T-Wolves Nuggets, they thought, hey, big playoff type atmosphere. If the Nuggets lose, they're essentially done. 227 all the way down to 224.5. No Butler. Teague did play, though, in that one, but it was 100-96, not even close.
Yeah, I mean, the playoffs on the line, the game played like a playoff intensity contest. And to be honest, both teams looked tired last night. They combined, 17 of 61 from three-point range. What does it set up? It sets up 5 teams that are within 1 game of each other in the Western Conference. One of those teams isn't going to make the playoffs. So we've got quite a battle for the last week of the regular season, as entertaining a final week as I can remember in recent NBA history. But the bottom line is, bad for books. T-Wolves Nuggets under gets steamed, and that under cashes with relative ease.
Yeah. What a huge game tonight. NBA TV, the 3 seed on the line, and LeBron James is an underdog. We'll get to Cavs, Sixers, and the Celtics. Life without Kyrie up next on SportsBit. Betting Insight today on SBRPicks.com.
Research before you bet. Be sure to check out SBR Picks for the best game predictions, breakdowns, and much, much more.
Back on SportsBit 2.0, Pauly and Teddy. Follow us on Twitter at RealSportsBit, at Teddy_Covers. Thanks to Intertop Sportsbook, 22 years online. Sign up, deposit, and win. Big game breakdown. They had to sit through 3 years of tanking, and now they can taste it. The Sixers have won 12 in a row. NBA TV tonight, they're 3.5 against the Cavs, and it's been steamed up. There are 4.5s now in this game, 224 the total. Cleveland is currently the 3 seed, 49-30. The Sixers are 48-30. The season series is 2-1 Cleveland. Cleveland has 2 left against the Knicks after this, and Philly plays Dallas, Atlanta, and then they close with Milwaukee at home the final day of the regular season. Who knows what Milwaukee will be playing for in that scenario. But Embiid goes out. Simmons has been Superman, and the sharing the ball. They had 8 guys in double figures the other night. They are now tied for number 2 in all of basketball in defensive efficiency.
I mean, newsflash, Philly's really good. But this game will determine the 3 versus the 4. I know, is that going to matter? Maybe, maybe not. But when you look at the fact that the Cavs have Knicks twice after this ballgame and a half-game lead going in, it tells, man, of course, with the series edge coming into this 2-1 series lead, if Cleveland wins tonight, Philly can't catch them, period. So if the Sixers win and they have a hiccup somewhere, I don't think they're going to hiccup against Dallas, Atlanta, or potentially Milwaukee at home. But this game's going to determine it. You talked about Philly without Embiid. 4-0 straight up and against the spread the last 4. And, of course, they won the game where he got hurt and only played 7 minutes anyway. They've won 12 in a row. The last 3, they've gone without Saric, and beating the spread by 39 points during that span. But they haven't been playing teams like Cleveland. Philly's schedule has been very, very friendly of late. But, boy, Ben Simmons has been good. And I keep saying I want Donovan Mitchell to get credit. Yeah, Ben Simmons is the best rookie in the NBA. Look at the production for his minute count. That's insane. 16 points, close to a triple-double in the last 4 games, and he's not even averaging 30 minutes a game. And, of course, when you talk about the last 4 games with Ben Simmons on the floor, offensive number, plus 120.1 points per 100, defensive 94.1. That's a net plus 25.9. With Ben Simmons on the floor over the last 4 games, he has been an absolute difference maker. Bad news for a Cleveland team that, again, will be playing without their point guards.
Yep, you get Saric back, and last night, no Hill and no Calderon. See their status coming up. James entered the game down 14 with 7 minutes left against the Wizards. They scored and pushed it up to 17, so you wondered if maybe Lou would take him out to rest him for the big game tonight. Put him back in, and they ran him out 32-11 the rest of the way. After the game, James, quote, "I don't have a quit bone in me, so if I'm on the floor, I've got to try to make plays happen no matter what the score is. That's just my mindset." Scotty Brooks looks like somebody in the family died. He was dying over there on the sidelines. Like I said before the game, I'll say it after the game, in 5 years from now, he's the best player in the league, and he does that every night. Well, a lot has to go wrong, too. And John Wall played well, but he had a big turnover late. They're leaving Korver and other shooters wide open. A total meltdown by the Wizards to blow that lead. And it was, it's a killer for the Wizards, because I like to get the 7 seed now and face the Celtics, but they got helped out because the Bucks lost at home to the Nets. So if I'm Washington, I want to get the 7 seed, but we'll see how it plays out the rest of the way. And the Heat look like they're going to get the 6 seed now.
Yeah, I mean, one thing that I can tell you for fact, if you look at seeding battles in the NBA and say, This team must win. Oh, look, they want to get the 6th seed and not the 7th seed. If you're laying points in that scenario or laying any type of premium in that scenario, it's not a money-winning proposition. Getting into the playoffs is a legitimate motivator for teams and players down the stretch of the final week of the season when everybody's gassed and everybody's banged up. But if you're saying go balls to the wall because you can get the 4 seed instead of the 5, it just doesn't happen that way. The psychology of the players, as fans, as bettors, we say they should do that. The psychology of the players from 20 years of betting experience in the NBA this final week, the must-wins. Oh, for seeding, they don't always get there. They don't get there at a particularly high percentage of the time either.
Coaches need to do the right thing and sit these guys down and get the 7 seed. You want to face the Celtics. Bulls and Celtics, 10-201 the total. A great stat, a great trend on this game coming up in a second. So Kyrie out for the rest of the season. Big downgrade in the future odds. They went from they're 20-1 to win the East and now 80-1 to win the title. And no Smart for the first round of the playoffs either. Stevens got his work cut out for him. The on-off with Kyrie. You look at it, great graphic here, great numbers. You see the net points and the pace with Kyrie on and Kyrie off, but it's more pronounced when Smart is out. Look at the gap, 3.2 when Kyrie's out, 4.8 when Smart is out. But when both are out, I mean, this is a shit show here for Brad Stevens. They did have that nice run with that road trip, but now you got to beat somebody in a best of 7. Celtics up against it. Great coaching job, though, that they lose Hayward in the first game and they're still able to get the 2 seed.
Sure, we like Brad Stevens. I don't know if we like Boston in the postseason, but certainly for tonight, the Celtics are an interesting team to consider. Boston, 67% this year coming off a loss. I mean, just as simple a strategy as there is. Celtics off a loss, you bet on them. I think they're 16-8 ATS, for profitable, simple strategy. The question is, and of course, they're coming off that stinker in Toronto where they didn't do anything right. But the question is, are these still the Celtics? Yep. No Irving, no Smart. And you talked about the difference. A lot of times when Irving was out, Smart was in. When Smart was out, Irving was in. So now both guys are out. Smart with the torn ligament in his thumb, no timetable. The quote for him, asking if he can come back in the second round. Definitely right now, that is what we're shooting for. The way it's going now, we're on the right path. Hopefully nothing happens where it gets delayed. That's not, I'm going to be there. That's hopefully maybe could be. But without the duo of Irving and Smart, my mind is more important than missing either. Obviously, it's more important than missing either one of them. But without both of them, this isn't the same Celtics that have gone 16-8 coming off a loss so far this season. It's just not the same team right now.
Bulls on a 3-0 straight up an ATS run, all wins as a dog. They beat the spread by 52 points against Charlotte, Washington, and Orlando. Markkanen, we're going out there to win every game. I hope we can keep this thing going. Then the Hoiberg quote, which you know where his head's at. You want your guys to go out and compete at the highest level, and we're doing that across the board right now. We've got so many young guys, and they're still learning their way in this league. They want to compete. One guy says win, the coach says compete, and they have been tanking. But it's just when 2 bad teams play, obviously, someone has to win. Because when they beat Charlotte, they sat Markkanen and the other regulars in the fourth quarter, but the backup still hit shots, and a decision that didn't work out. That happened earlier in the season, too, when he pulled everybody and they sat guys. But it was Portis, I think, and somebody else who they couldn't miss from 3 in that one. And here's that trend I talked about. This is from Mark Lawrence. The Bulls are 11-0 ATS when coming off consecutive wins this season. On the flip side, the Celtics are 1-9 ATS at home, following the Raptors as a foe coming off the win. That is wild there if you're a big trends player. So an interesting game coming up tonight. Up next, a deep dive, the NFL draft. William Hill, a ton of different props they put up as the draft is less than 3 weeks away. We've seen some major steam on these already. We'll get to that. We'll turn the shot clock on up next on SportsBit. Betting Insight today on SBRPicks.com.
Research before you bet. Be sure to check out SBR Picks for the best game predictions, breakdowns, and much, much more.
Wrapping up on SportsBit, Pauly and Teddy. Betting Insight today. Follow us on Twitter at RealSportsBet and at Teddy_covers. Deep dive, NFL draft. Great job by William Hill. William Hill US on Twitter. Mike Rotsky, VP of William Hill, Director of Marketing. We had 20 different ways to bet the draft in 2017. This year, we have 62. And the gaming allowed you to name players as well. And you can do where guys are going to go in certain spots, and we've seen some sick steam already as these just came out 2 days ago. Number of Alabama players selected in round 1 is 4, minus 110. Number of running backs selected in round 1. Over 1.5 is the small dog. Under 1.5, minus 125. That comes down. Barkley's going to go top 10. That's interesting. It's funny how things have changed. Used to be a sick run on running backs, Teddy. Now we had that run where we had a run where you couldn't get a running back go in the first round. That's how things have changed, which, you've always said running backs don't mean anything.
They don't. But let's start at the top. This is, when you talk about emerging markets, 20 ways to bet the draft last year, 62 ways this year. We see what direction this is going. They took a lot of handle. The hold was good. And you know what that means? Look at the props. Minus 110 both ways. Two-way props. It's like a bet. It's not minus 115. It's not minus 120. It's not 8 options. It's over or under. Mm-hmm. These are good props to bet when it comes to the prop marketplace. You're talking about over-unders. You're talking about not multiple options, just 2. And you're talking about a reasonable level of juice in these contests. But you talk about the running backs. Look, Barkley's going first round. We know that. So they're basically, this bet is, will there be another running back taken in the first round? That's the bet. And given your analysis, given the deflection, remember, there's a lot of teams that are going to make public comments to try to make people think one way, and then they're going to come back around the other way and make a move that people weren't expecting. People are shocked on draft day every year. Shocked. Be aware of that before you get involved with some of these wagers. There is intentional misinformation being delivered by various GMs because they're trying to get their guy.
How about number of wide receivers selected in round 1, over 2.5, minus 175? That would be Ridley, Sutton, and then the kid from Maryland. I think Moore's his name. That could go. I don't know about Sutton. Sutton's going in the second round in some of the mocks. So that's a high price. Well, let's get to some steam. It's gone crazy here in less than 2 days. To me, this is a great bet, and it's moved big time. Quarterbacks drafted in rounds 1 and 2 over 5.5, minus 280. It opened 160. So you're going to have the big 4, and the Patriots are in love with Mayfield, according to reports, which it could be BS coming out of New England, but they just acquired another first-round pick, getting rid of Cooks. Lamar Jackson expected to go late first round, and I know Rudolph is going to go in the first 2 rounds from Oklahoma State. Could the kid out of Richmond sneak into round 2 as well? There are going to be 6 quarterbacks selected in the first 2 rounds, and you already saw a big move on that one as well. But that's got nothing on this prop. Player to be drafted first, Sony Michel or Nick Chubb. Michel opened plus 110, Chubb minus 130. Michel opened the dog. He's now minus 270 to be drafted first. Amazing steam, Teddy.
Sure, but in general, number one is that if you can get involved in these plays before the steam hits or as the steam is starting, you'll put yourself in a really good expectation, a really good situation. But in general, you probably want to be laying more chalk than taking dogs in this situation. You say QB's drafted in rounds 1 and 2. I don't have a strong opinion, but I know where the sharp money has gone. It's all on the over. You brought up all of those names. There could be 6. There could be 7 if Mason Rudolph goes. You say over 5.5 minus 280. Yeah, it's not the best of the number. But if you're going to play that wager, that's the way to play it. This is one time when you talk about NFL draft props, I don't mind laying a little bit of chalk. I'd rather lay some chalk. I don't want the contrarian positions in this one.
Let's get to the quarterbacks now, too. And it could go QB to start. Rosen against Darnold. Darnold plus 140, Rosen minus 1.5. That's different than as opposed to a regular straight bet when we're talking about sports. William Hill, that means Darnold will go higher. We'll go first before Rosen in the draft. That's how they word it with William Hill. So Darnold could go number 1 or number 2. I think Darnold will be the number 1, could be the number 1 pick in the draft because Dorsey also likes Allen out of Wyoming too. And Rosen could have turned some people off with his attitude and what Morris said about him as well. Lamar Jackson minus 7.5 against Mayfield. That's a tough one. You're seeing Lamar Jackson maybe to Buffalo at 22. Will Buffalo trade up? Maybe he falls late 20s to Jacksonville. But Mayfield could go top 10. I don't think he gets past Miami at number 11. That's a good number, though, at 7.5. Some good numbers there as well. We'll get back to these coming up with Play of the Day. I'll run some of these down. Let's turn on the shot clock. Major League Baseball. How concerned should these teams be? Is it panic time or just time for patience? You start, Teddy.
All right, so there are three teams I want to talk about. I want to talk about the Dodgers, the Phillies, and the Cubs. Three teams that have often noticeably slow start. And I'll say, look, Dodgers backers got to sweat. Cubs backers shouldn't worry all that much. But it's the Philadelphia panic that's freaking me out. It's like, all right, Kapler had a rough week. You know,
it's terrible.
The bullpen wasn't very good. Okay. It's the first week of the season. Philly is a young team. They're not supposed to be winning 95 games. I think the Phillies will be fine. I think the panic mode is way too soon for Philadelphia. Not for the Dodgers. There's a lot to be worried about in L.A. already. Yep. Philadelphia, they'll be fine. Yep. The markets just had them a little bit overpriced that first week of the season.
I completely disagree. He takes Nola out after 68 pitches in game one. He comes out, changes pitchers. This guy not even warming up. He put a position player into pitch in the second game. He says that's going to be part of the plan. It's a horror show. He wants to be the Dodgers and the Yankees. One problem. Your bullpen sucks. It's not like the Dodgers or the Yankees. What are you doing here, taking guys out in the fifth or sixth inning? That's crazy. Horrible start for Kapler. And they booed him yesterday on opening day at home. I don't blame him. I'm with you on the Dodgers. Very concerned. Can't hit. Swept in Arizona. Now they take on the Giants. They're up to a slow start. They're 2-5. Although I would preach patience with the Cubbies. The bats came alive last night, but the bats should be okay with the Cubs, and the pitching is going to be solid as well. Give it a couple weeks, and the bats will be fine in Chicago. All right, money time. Play of the day. Let's run all these down. These are strong bets, and we've seen significant steam already. Ridley minus 280 to be drafted before Sutton, wide receiver. The Cowboys have to take Ridley at number 19. They got to move on from Dez Bryant at some point. I would do it sooner rather than later. I think he has one 100-yard game in the last 2 years. Love Ridley. This opened up 180, and now it's up to 280. Ridley to be drafted before Sutton, and I see Sutton going in round 2 in some of the mocks. Everyone has Ridley going in round 1. Brand name bias, baby. Ronald Jones, who ran a 4.440 at his pro day. Minus $3 to be drafted before Rashad Penny out of San Diego State. One of the best players you didn't see or never heard of, and that's the problem. He did it all at San Diego State. Kick returns, receiving, rushing, but he's expected to go third round. Jones killed it at his pro day, and he went to USC, and he's fast, so I think, and that opened $250, and now it's up to $3. And one more, Sony Michel, 6 steam here, minus 270 to be drafted before Chubb. Again, Michel opened the dog. Now he's minus 270, less than 3 weeks away. There, wet your beak with that one, with 3 play of the days with the draft and more. They're going to continue to get bigger and bigger with that as the South Point will get involved in more places to release all their props coming up as gaming allows them to get more creative this time around. All right, Monday we recap the Masters winner. There'll only be 3 days left in the regular season of the NBA. And the NHL playoffs start next week as well. Have a good week. Tell your friends we're back at SportsBit 2.0. Betting Insight today on SBRPicks.com. Thanks for watching.